I'm sorry, gang. I would never have believed that I'd be saying this, but Piers Morgan rocks. I mean, the guy is calling out Greta Thunberg for being the absolute fake that she is. I'm sorry, whether it's his support of Trump or is calling out every, left-wing lunatic cancel culture nut out there, or my personal favorite is incessant dissing of Greta Thunberg. Piers Morgan appears more and more red-pilled with every passing day. We're going to look at what Piers has had to say about Greta. We're going to look at her complete hypocrisy surrounding yet another yacht trip across the Atlantic, supposedly carbon-free, and why no one's buying the media's fabrication, this supposed environmentalist saint. But first, let me ask you all a question, and I say all the time on this channel, of course, a new conservative age is rising. But my question of all of you is this: do you really believe that? Do you really believe a new conservative age is coming? And if not, what's the biggest thing holding you back from believing it? Because if you're like me, okay, I found myself in the same spot. I was completely cynical and skeptical about anything good able to occur in the future. But all of that changed a decade ago, and now I have dedicated myself to helping others on that journey to overcome their cynicism for the future. So I'm here to help, right? I want to help you believe. That's what I've dedicated my life to here. So ask yourself, if you're a conservative, cynical about the future, are you open to changing your mindset? Because my book, The Return of Christendom, gives you a proven path to overcome conservative cynicism. And we want to get this book into your hands. We want to convince you to live in the present light of even better things to come. So we're offering this book at a ridiculous discounted price, but it's only for a limited time. So don't wait. Get this book. Click on the link below and get that super discount today. And let's start off a new year with confidence that a new conservative age is indeed rising. All right, so let's dive right in here. Good Morning Britain host Piers Morgan had a thing or two to say about Greta Thunberg's yacht trip across the Atlantic. In a recent tweet, he retweeted a Reuters headline that announced that Greta Thunberg had just docked in Lisbon after a 20-day Atlantic crossing for the United Nations Climate Summit in Madrid. And Morgan sarcastically tweeted out, I wish I'd had a stolen childhood like this, referring, of course, to her UN speech, or how dare you speech, where she accused us all of stealing her childhood and robbing her of her dreams. Now, of course, this is not the first time that Piers Morgan has mocked Greta. Just a few weeks back, if you remember, we did a video on the Greta Thunberg mural in San Francisco. Have you seen this? Click on the link above for that video. It's so funny. You're going to love it, I promise. But a so-called artist recently painted a massive mural on the face of the teen climate activist Greta in a building in downtown San Francisco. And not only does this 60-foot tall, 30-foot wide mural include some pretty freaky eyes staring at everybody in the city, and not only was it painted with spray paint, which environmentalist radicals think is so harmful to the environment, but the mural made Greta look uncannily like Vladimir Putin. And Piers couldn't help himself. So he tweeted out, why the heck does she look like Vladimir Putin? And he had a picture of the mural. It was hilarious. Talk about an epic fail. And so shortly after her "How dare you" speech, Piers had some fun performing an impression of her on Good Morning Britain as well. So, he's had a few little jabs at her. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about here. First off, and we did a video on this as well, Piers has indeed sort of been red-pilled. It's pretty impressive. You want to check that video out because I spell out all the ways in which Piers has turned on his fellow liberals. Again, it's really quite wonderful to see. He's come out and said bluntly, actually, that nationalist populism is in fact on the rise all over the world precisely because liberals have become unbearable. How's that? They become absolutely and completely unbearable. He believes that the rise of populism is a very understandable and justified reaction to the tyrannical nature of left-wing PC culture. The snowflakes, right? The cry bullies. He put it brilliantly. He said liberals have become utterly, pathetically illiberal, and it's a massive problem. Okay? Again, he put it quite well. What's the point of calling yourself a liberal if you don't allow anyone else to have a different point of view? I mean, that's a boom. That's a mic drop. What's the point of calling yourself a liberal if you don't allow anyone else to have a different view? Liberals have become intolerably illiberal. So Piers sees it, and I think he's demonstrating this red-pilled turn by his taking on Greta. Remember, as far as the corporatist globalist media is concerned, Greta is a saint. She's to be revered as an absolute saint, a holy one. You're not allowed to criticize secular saints. You'll be burned at the proverbial stake for doing so. And Piers recognizes that, and he wants nothing to do with it. He's willing to call out Greta for what she is. She's in fact a farce. She's a fabrication. Again, we did a video on how the media actually conspired deliberately to create Greta Thunberg as an international hero at Columbia University. If you want to know where Greta was fabricated, it was at a conference held at the Columbia School of Journalism. Again, we did a video on that. You want to check that video out. I'll link it down below for you as well. It gives you everything you need to know how the media deliberately concocted a hero. And here's a perfect example. It's a perfect example of how she's fabricated. In Greta's 3-week yacht trip across the Atlantic to Lisbon, did you know that the captain of the yacht had to fly over from England to the United States in order to man the vessel? You see, the problem here is that Greta refuses to fly because of the supposedly toxic CO2 emissions that airplanes have to emit. She prefers instead to travel emissions-free. Our travel is supposed to involve zero emissions. That's what the media tells us. But what happened? Her travel required someone else to fly on an airplane. You see, this is the typical left-wing hypocrisy. She allows others to do for her what she refuses you and I to do for ourselves and our families and our jobs. She has no problem whatsoever someone flying over the Atlantic so that she can have all this attention and generate all this awareness for her supposedly carbon-free travel. And of course, it was even worse when she originally traveled over to the United States from Europe, a few months back. Captains had to fly on at least 2 airplanes to pilot her last trip across the Atlantic on the yacht. But notice again, not a peep from the corporatist globalist media. Nothing. Nothing. And again, that's because Greta is a deliberate fabrication. She's a concocted symbol of the Marxist media to advance their own left-wing political agenda, an agenda an increasing number of people want little to do with. I mean, the sad fact of the matter in all this is most people don't buy Greta. Of course, again, you'll never hear that in the fabricated media. But all you have to do is look at the memes that are out there mocking her, ridiculing her. Look at people like Piers Morgan, who have the gall to call out the obvious nonsense of this. Once again, the Marxist media create their own reality, and no one, quite literally no one, is buying it. Now, before you go, we just loaded up a video that you're going to love. We did a video on Kamala Harris dropping out of the Democratic presidential race. All the while, Joe Biden's campaign is imploding. It's going to make your day. So click on the link at the top left of the corner of the video, and I'll see you over there. God bless.